How much does self-publishing a book cost? How much should you expect to pay? And how do you know whether you're getting ripped off? In this video, we're going to talk about all things money. What's up, guys? Michael Laron here with Author Level Up, helping you write world-class stories better and faster. And I create these videos because I believe that each of you has Stephen King level talent and you just need help unlocking it. So if you're new here, consider subscribing and click that little bell, ding, 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 to get notifications every time I have a new writing video. And in this video, we're talking about the cost of self-publishing. What should you expect to pay? Because I have found that, especially when you're a beginning author, the dollar signs scare some people because this is an investment. The days are gone of the 2011 where you could just throw up a non-edited book on Amazon and expect to make thousands of dollars. That's gone. The cost of admission is a well-edited book and a good cover, but often new writers don't know what to pay. So here are my rules of thumb. This is just based on my own personal experience. Your mileage may vary, but I've written over 50 books at the time of this video, so I like to think I have a pretty good idea of what you should be paying for self-publishing services. So first things first, what should you pay for an editor? Well, it depends on the type of editor that you hire. There are developmental editors, which is the most expensive type of editing that you can buy. They're going to look at your plot. They're going to help you rearrange things, work on your character development and your character arcs. You guys know that I don't recommend developmental editors, but should you choose to accept that risk, you're going to pay several thousands of dollars. Probably $2,000 minimum. There are some editors that might charge less. There are reputable developmental editors out there, but you can typically expect to pay several thousands of dollars because this is the most expensive editing you can buy because it's going to require the most of your editor. They're going to be hands-on with you in the story and helping you get the big picture elements right. Now, the second type of editing is copy editing. This is the editing that I always recommend, and you can typically expect, it depends on the length of your novel, right? So let's just say for a 50,000 word novel, in the past, I've paid anywhere from $300 to about $500 for a copy edit. My last novel, I paid exactly $400 for a copy edit. And this is where the editor is going to go through line by line. They're going to make edits for flow, consistency. They might catch a few plot holes, but this is the editing where your novel really starts to feel like a novel when the editor is done. And then lastly, we have proofreading. So proofreading, again, pretty simple. The editor's just going to go through and look for typos and maybe errors that were introduced while you were editing, right? So proofreaders can be notoriously difficult to find, and it can be notoriously difficult to find a good proofreader for value. So, but my rule of thumb is that I typically pay about a third of what I pay for copy editing. So my last book, I think I paid $400. I think I would have paid around $120 for proofreading. It's up to you, but generally speaking, I would not pay the same amount of money that I pay for a proofread for a copy edit. You're paying too much money if the costs are the same. So just make sure you keep that in mind. Now, I should also say that if you're writing epic fantasy, that's 100,000 words or more, your editing costs are just going to be higher. There's just no way around that. If you're paying the same rates or the same amount that somebody with a 50,000 word book is paying for a large epic fantasy, you're probably not paying for the right quality of editor. So if you write larger books, just know editing is going to cost you more. So let's just say we have a fictional book that we want to publish, and how much is it going to cost? So let's say I have a developmental editor, we'll be conservative and say that costs $2,000. And then let's say that I have a copy editor, and then we'll be right on par, and we'll say it costs about $400. And then we'll say I hire a proofreader, and just for easy math, that is $100. So $2,000 plus $400 plus $100 is $2,500 for one book. Okay, $2,500 for one book times 3. Let's say you have a trilogy. Yeah, you do the math on that. We're looking at about $7,500. Now, some of you are probably falling out of your chair right now because that is incredibly expensive. And we're just talking about editing, okay? So do you understand why I don't believe in developmental editing at this point? You can save thousands and thousands of dollars. So let's just say that we take out the developmental editing cost. $400 for copy editing, $100 for proofreading, That's $500. Multiply that by 3, you have $1,500. It's still a lot of money, but it's a lot more manageable. Now, let's talk about cover design. Cover design can vary wildly depending on a number of different factors. It's going to depend on your book, it's going to depend on your designer, and it's also going to depend on the method that your designer uses. So let's just say, for example, the easiest way to do a cover, I shouldn't say it's the easiest way, but it's the way that a lot of beginners want to think about when they first start off, and it's the method that I highly recommend that you don't do. But if you must, you can design your own book covers, and you can save a substantial amount of money by doing that. All you're going to need is a photo manipulation software like Photoshop, which costs about $120 per year, and then you could even buy like a one-time program like Affinity, which is like $50. But you need software to do the work in. Right? And then you would need to pay for stock images on sites like Shutterstock or CanStock Photo. Wherever you get your stock photo images, you're going to pay per image for those. Sometimes you can get a subscription where you can get so many images, and sometimes those places offer credits where you can buy so many credits and get images at a discount, but you're still going to have to pay for the source material, like the models and the backgrounds and all that stuff. It's not going to cost you very much. You could probably expect to pay about $10 to $20 per stock image if you buy them outright. And then you've also got fonts. So if you want to put a particular font on your book cover, a lot of people don't know this, and they're surprised to find out that fonts are actually copyrightable, and you actually have to pay for a license to use a fair number of fonts. So if you do want to use a font, you would just have to check to make sure that you can use it. And if you need to pay for a license for it, they're very cheap. You can expect to pay about $15 to $30 maybe. Sometimes for the bigger fonts, maybe a little bit more. But that's if you want to do the book yourself. All right. So there's also the option of pre-made covers. So there are cover designers out there that will design a whole bunch of book covers, and then they'll put them in a gallery, and you can browse the gallery and pick out a book cover for you. You buy it. The cover designer then puts your name and your book title on it, and then the book cover is yours. That usually gets removed from the gallery so that you have a unique image. I've paid for pre-mades in the past. I paid anywhere from $30 to $40. These days, I see pre-mades going for a little bit more. So you might budget spending anywhere from $30 to maybe $75 for a pre-made, although you'll probably find something on the lower end of that spectrum. And then the third option with cover design, which is the option that I always recommend, is hiring a professional cover designer. So if you do hire a professional cover designer, it's going to depend on what their method of work is. There are some designers where they're just kind of run and gun. They use stock photos, and they just use photo manipulation to blend everything together and create a really good looking book cover. Totally cool. They're going to usually charge a little bit less. And then you've got all the way up to the top of cover designers that are going to do like digital painting and really kind of advanced techniques that are going to require more of their time, and so therefore they're going to charge more for the cover. So typically speaking, if you hire any kind of professional designer, you can expect to pay anywhere from $200 to $1,000. If all the editors or all the cover designer is doing is photo manipulation, you're probably going to be on the lower end of that spectrum, maybe $200 to $400. If they're doing the digital painting and stuff like that, then you're going to pay a lot more. But for some designers, I've paid $200 for a cover. I've paid $750 for a cover, and they were both photo manipulated. So the price varies wildly. But I do want you to remember that just because a cover designer charges more money, that does not necessarily mean that you're going to get a better quality product. Okay, so we've got our fictional book, and we said it's going to cost $400 for copy editing and $100 for proofreading. And let's just say that we're going to spend $300 for cover design. So 400 plus 100 plus 300, that's $800 for the production of your book one. All right, $800. And if you do the math and multiply that by 3, we're looking at about $2,400 to produce an entire 3-book series. Now, I know that a lot of you are probably like, that's a lot of money. That's scary. I get it. Trust me. So here are some things you can think about when it comes to saving money with your production costs. First things first, skip developmental editing and you'll save all the money in the world. Second, if you can, I always recommend copy editing, but you can always find a copy editor that's willing to do a manuscript for cheaper. Should you do that? No, but especially if you can find the right person. But you can usually not have a whole lot of problems finding an editor that can do something for cheaper. So if cost is a major consideration for you, see if you can find a copy editor that can do things cheaper. And then also another thing you can do is you can skip proofreading if you really need to. See if your copy editor is willing to do 2 passes of your manuscript. So, meaning they'll send you the manuscript, you'll edit it, and then you'll send it back to them, and then they'll go back through it again. That can serve in some respects as a proofread. It's not as good because it's the same person. Ideally, you want 2 different people doing copy editing and proofreading. But if you're strapped for cash and that's all you can afford, then that's all you can afford. Proofreading is not required. But certainly it will help you with a more professional product. But if you can't afford it, then you can shave some dollars off of that. So if we go back to our fictional book here, 50,000 word novel, let's say that $400 is too expensive. So maybe we can find a copy editor that can do it for $300, and then we skip the proofreading altogether. So our cost for the editing is $300, right? 300 plus 300 for the cover, we have a $600 production cost. Multiply that by 3 for a trilogy, and we're looking at about $1,800. I probably wouldn't cut any more corners other than that. Now, again, these numbers don't go off and say, "Hey, Michael Laurent said this got to cost this much," and no, it's just a guide. It's just a guide. It's just some tips on helping you save some costs. If you have to cut corners at all, I would cut corners with the editing. I would not cut corners with the cover design. One, because it's harder to find a good cover designer than it is to find a good editor. That's just my own personal experience. But again, remember guys, self-publishing is an investment. It's not something that you're probably going to make your money back all on day one. It does require some patience. It requires you to continue leveling up your skills. But one day, if you keep at it and you keep improving, you're going to be in a position where you're not going to have to worry about what the costs of your production will be. And that's what I want for you. So thank you for watching. I hope that you found this video helpful, and don't forget to subscribe.
Perfect.